going to get started. Get a roll call, please.
Dr. Bopey? Dr. Bopey's not in attendance. Mr. Castile?
Here.
Dr. Davis?
Here.
Ms. Ellis?
Here.
Mr. Garvey?
Here.
Ms. Holloway?
Here.
Mr. Mellering?
Here.
Mr. Morris?
Here.
Ms. Orange-Jones?
Here.
Mr. Rock? Ms. Bochet?
Education, Caddo Parish, and the Louisiana National Board Network. Right here. Dear Lord, we come to you today asking for your guidance, wisdom, and the business of this meeting. Lord, help us to engage in meaningful discourse and to do it respectfully. Pledge, and they are from the EBR Virtual Academy, and they will be assisted by Ms. Robin Clark.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
Next item is consideration of the recognition of Louisiana National Board Certified Teachers.
Yes, good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the board. My name is Dr. Dolores Palmerzina. I am a freshly new MOC, renewed candidate, renewed National Board Certified Teacher. It's my third renewal, so I'm excited to be here. Along with the Louisiana National Board Certified Teachers, as we appear before you this morning, we are honored, and each of us to be recognized. Each of us has demonstrated the knowledge and state of Louisiana. And if you allow me a point of indulgence, I just would like to mention that the person on this cover, People Magazine, is a National Board Certified Teacher. She is also the National Teacher of the Year, and we happen to know her. She's very, very humble as well, but she's an excellent, excellent ESL, National Board Certified Teacher. As well, we have two of our board members, Dr. Benjamin LeBron and Lauren Jewett, who are featured in this particular article. So as we, as National Board Certified Teachers, we not only mentor our students and work with our students and other teachers in the classroom, we also expand our knowledge outside to improve and impact education for all. I would ask you to hear a few words from our President and CEO, Peggy Brookins.
I'm honored to be with you today for Louisiana NBCT Day. I hope you all have recovered from Mardi Gras. It looked like a fun time for everyone. And if anyone has any leftover king cake, feel free to send a piece my way. The pandemic has taken away my chance to celebrate with you in person, but thank you for allowing me to join you by video. By whatever means, when I'm invited to acknowledge and celebrate educators and the teams that support them, I make it a priority to join. You are doing hard work to advance the profession, and it deserves recognition. Louisiana MBCTs are always doing incredible work to advocate for board certification, our students, and our profession. You are growing the number of National Board Certified Teachers in the classroom across the state and impacting student learning across the region. Throughout the year, we see the energy and commitment in your work, and today it's visible to your elected officials at the state capitol and to educators across the state. A teacher may face 120 students or more a day. Year after year, think of that impact. Louisiana has 1,895 NBCTs, and that is of last week's registration deadline. There are nearly 812 teachers currently pursuing board certification in your state. The impact you have keeps growing. Let's double it. Let's turn 812 candidates into 1,600 candidates next year. There's a lot of opportunity for growth in board certification. We need to continue driving awareness of why board certification matters to teachers and students, and helping teachers capitalize on the incentives as well. Your personal stories and your advocacy for board certification are what will change the hearts and minds of your elected officials. As an MACT myself, gatherings like this one and your advocacy to increase the number of board certified teachers hold deep personal significance. National board certification is known as the profession's highest mark of accomplished teaching. This is a great professional achievement because it has been created by teachers for teachers. It is based on our performance in the classroom and on our own deep self-reflection on our teaching and an assessment of our content and pedagogical knowledge. To be as meaningful as board certification really can be, I challenge you to use your expertise to serve as teacher leaders, to represent the profession, and to serve as change agents in your school, district, state, and national. As a leader, you'll have the opportunity to influence what happens in the education landscape. From our founding in 1987, the National Board's mission has been to advance the quality of teaching and learning through a voluntary certification. Today, more than ever, that mission is of even greater importance. The opportunities and challenges facing the teaching profession are like nothing we've experienced in generations. When each of you committed to the journey of board certification, you showed that you have the courage and willingness to transform the educational system. Your impact will be forever etched into the lives you touch by the relationships you build and the opportunities you create. Let's make sure that it's seen, heard, recognized, and most importantly, supported by elected officials, and that they are showing up for kids, our schools, and education in this country like you do every day. Take these messages, take your stories, take your own personal journey and the impact you are able to make, and help us get a national board certified teacher in every classroom across Louisiana and the country. Thank you and congratulations.
Thank you. And located on in each of your areas, I have placed some literature, and I will just quickly scan over it. Basically, Mississippi National Board provides an annual salary supplement of $6,000 to eligible MBCTs for the life of the National Board Certificate. And just to clarify, the National Board Certificate is now every 5 years, not every 10 anymore. So that's what the maintenance of certification is. In 13 counties in Mississippi, there is an additional $4,000 stipend that is also available. In Arkansas, NBCTs receive a yearly retention bonus anywhere from $2,500 to $5,000 or $10,000 from the Arkansas Department of Education, depending on your school district poverty level. Licensure now includes on their pay scale from the state the Master Teacher Professional Designation, which provides a career continuum for teachers who love to teach and want to impact students from the classroom. More than 100 Arkansas public school districts offer additional incentives to National Board Certification. Alabama, their teachers who are National Board Certified are paid $5,000 salary stipend in addition to MBCTs who teach in certain subject areas in one of Alabama's 351 eligible schools. They can earn up to an extra $5,000 each year. As of today, Alabama now ranks 10th from 14th in 2020. They now rank 10th in the nation in number of MBCTs with 2,242. accomplished teachers. Texas, beginning in April 2021, eligible National Board Certified teachers will earn designation on their Texas Educator certificate. Louisiana presently does have the certification recognition on their certificate. However, in Texas, eligible NBCTs with this recognition designation generate an annual allotment between $3,000 to $9,000 for their district. Louisiana now ranks 17, so we've gone up a little bit from 18. Now increasing us to 5% of our teaching force. We respectfully request your consideration to join our neighboring states in adding National Board certification to our state pay schedule. And I welcome any discussions as the board that sits with me as well to see how we can compile that or make that what that would look like for the state of Louisiana. On this day, proclaimed as National Board Certified Teacher Day in Louisiana by Governor John Bel Edwards, we come before you to celebrate in addition of 11 newly certified NBCTs to the ranks of accomplished teaching, and 157 who wanted to be in their classroom today, which that's okay, renewed and maintenance of certification NBCTs who have chosen to reinvest in the high standards of commitment to excellence in teaching and learning. We respectfully thank each of you for this dedication, for your dedication to promoting the vision and mission of every student deserves a teacher whose practice meets the highest standards. Louisiana National Board Certified teachers meet this gold standard. We thank you for this opportunity. We now ask, at this time, if I would like to invite the chairman of the board, the superintendent, and any other board members who would like to come and pin NBCTs at this time. I ask for the newly certified NBCTs who will receive an official pin donated by the PC2 Education Foundation, and the renewed will receive an official Louisiana pin donated by the WISE Foundation. If any legislators are present, we ask that you would join us in the front to participate. If each teacher who was able to attend would please come up to the mic, which would be on the right side. So you come up, go to the right side, state your name, your parish, and your certificate, and someone will pin you. I invite the board and the chairman and the superintendent. And anyone for pictures. Okay. New MCT. My name is Robin W. Clark. I'm in East Baton Rouge Parish, and I'm certified generalist, early childhood education, ages 3 to 8. You all know that?
I'm Adam Barrett, first year, more certified teacher. I work in Intelligent Lab School, and mine is in early childhood education.
My name is Stephanie Westrom, and I'm from West Louisiana Parish at Baines Elementary, and I certified in middle childhood general.
Sorry about that.
I'm sorry.
I tried to look in fault. Look like
I'm already.
Hi, I'm Phoebe Robertson, East Baton Parish Schools. I work at the magnet program as a intervention specialist. This is renewal of National Board Certification in early adolescence, English language arts.
Good morning, my name is Ellen Jardy. I am at the LSU Lab School. This is my third maintenance. I first did it in early childhood generalist in 2002. Good morning, I'm Megan Jane. I'm a PhD candidate and LSU, but formerly a lab school teacher. This is my maintenance of certification in nursing.
Good morning, I'm Michelle Blanchard. I'm the first grade instructor at LSU Laboratory School. This is my third certification. I originally certified in 2002 as an early childhood generalist.
Good morning, my name is Patricia Hinojosa Zamora. I renewed my certificate as an English as a new language at work in East Baton Rouge Parish. Good morning, my name is Megan Brown. I am the principal at Tanglewood Elementary in the Central Community School District, and I renewed with Middle Childhood General.
My name is Karen Cobo. I'm a reading interventionist at Tanglewood Elementary, the Central Community School System. I read in literacy, early and middle childhood.
Good morning, my name is Rhonda Ricketts. I'm a first grade teacher at Tanglewood Elementary, and I did my renewal in generalist early childhood.
Hi, my name is John Sewell. I work at St. James Parish at St. James High School. I renewed my
maintenance and certification in English language arts, adult and early adolescent.
Hi, my name is Ashley Townsend. I work here at the Louisiana Department of Education, and I recently renewed a middle grade generalist.
Hi, my name is Lauren Jewett. I am a 3rd and 4th grade special education teacher at Kit Morial Primary in New Orleans. I initially certified in 2017, and I maintained my certification in exceptional needs, ages 5 through 21.
Good morning, my name is Lonnie Crawford. I'm freshman received certification in 2000, so this is my 3rd time in career and technical education. And I teach in Washington Parish.
And I'm not going to be pinned today, but I just renewed because I'm one of the MOC candidates, and this is my 3rd time renewing. And I will tell you this, that our very first time coming here, Dr. Brumley was here when we were first recognized. So I'm so excited that he's keeping this tradition alive. So it's just year number 5. Yes. It's a good number. So you want to take a group picture? And the proclamation is here.
Whoever has the iPhone.
Teacher of the Year.
Absolutely, yes, thank you.
Yes, Mr. Castillo, would you like to say something?
Absolutely. As everyone is leaving, I'd like to take a point of personal privilege and recognize a couple of folks. Ms. Clark was recognized a little earlier, but we have a distinguished family here of educators. Judge Trudy White is actually photographing right now, but she is a 19 JDC judge who has just been an incredible public servant in this community. Actually had the opportunity to follow her at the Baton Rouge City Court bench for a short period of time. I want to thank her for her service. She's got a mask on and looks very much like a layperson, but she is very much a judicial stalwart here in the Baton Rouge community. So first, I want to recognize her. sister saying, that's my sister. She was taking pictures earlier. But I also want to recognize her mother. Mrs. Avis Baker White is here. She is a former Miss Southern University. She is very much an educator and someone who has led in this community for a long, long time. Dan, you can stand up too and be recognized with the family. But this, is something that we should all be proud of. We just finished talking about social studies. Right here, we have history sitting and standing before us in the form of education and legal and judicial leaders in our community. So if you don't mind, please join me in acknowledging their great accomplishments.
Mr. Gordon.
And I was reminded that our former Good Southern looks as beautiful as ever at a very young age of 94 years old.
Mr. Gordon.
Okay, Ms. Holloway.
Yes, before the grandparents leave out that are standing in the back, I can't help but acknowledge these two individuals that came today and how much we honor our grandparents. And if you can see, the grandparents are taking care of the two boys where Superintendent Bromley is, that said the pledge. We need our grandparents and we need to honor you. Thank you so much for being here, Ms. Clark. I don't know when you've done it. I mean, I shouldn't ask that way. It's evident with you having those one student here, right? Is he your student?
I teach at EBR Virtual Academy. I teach pre-K virtually. Imagine that. Okay. So the older one is 4 years old. He's in my class, but because I'm virtual, the walls have ears, and so the 3-year-old is actually listening also. And so as the grandmother, Ms. Johnson is working with Levi, the older 4-year-old, in my classroom as his coach while I teach, then the grandfather has the younger 3-year-old, Anthony, maybe in an adjacent room and watches him. But the walls have ears.
Absolutely, and that's what they said, they take care of these babies, these two boys. Gorgeous, thank you.
She's a former educator as well, retired educator.
She understands the importance of education. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Thank you.
We have our next item.
Next item is approval of the agenda.
Can we get a motion to approve the agenda, please? Ms. Davis, we have a second. Ms. Holloway? Yeah, good. Do we have any questions or comments from board members? Okay. Do we have any objections to the motion? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item.
Next item, approval of the minutes from January 19th, 2022.
Can we get a motion to approve the minutes, please? Ms. Davis, Ms. Holloway, second. Do we have any questions or comments from board members? Do we have any objections to the motion? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item.
Next item, report by the State Superintendent of Education.
Okay, Superintendent, please.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Garland. Well, welcome everyone here today. Long day yesterday, glad to be back here with everyone today. First of all, just want to acknowledge we have a legislative session coming up. There are a lot of exciting bills that have been pre-filed and certainly opportunities to continue to improve education in the state of Louisiana. I just want to reinforce to our board members that should you have any needs during the legislative session or should our team be able to help you in any particular way, simply reach out to myself or Ethan Melanson, and we're happy to assist whatever you might need during the session. I want to acknowledge our Career and College Readiness team for the work, particularly that they did at the latest Jumpstart Convention. We had 750 educators from across the state that joined us here in Baton Rouge for 1 day of training. It's particularly exciting this year with the rollout of the Fast Forward initiative with some of the early adopting systems in the state. And board members, we provided you should have a copy of all of the new graduation pathways that you approved. These are opportunities for students to graduate high school in a more 21st century way, where they are graduating newly with their high school degree or an apprenticeship, or potentially a set of courses that lead to a 4-year degree or the completion of an associate's degree. So really excited about these opportunities and the early adopters. That was a major point of discussion at the Jumpstart conference that we had here in Baton Rouge, roughly 30 sessions. And also want to acknowledge that day we had 75 child welfare and police officers from throughout the state that were here for a special track just around chronic absenteeism, truancy, and what ways in which we might be able to better engage our students and families so that students could be in school every single day. So I just want to acknowledge that work. And that leads me to mention Teacher Leader Summit. Teacher Leader Summit is coming up May 30th through June the 2nd. That will be held again in New Orleans. We are trying to place an emphasis as much as possible this year in the recruitment of classroom teachers. Oftentimes we see system leaders there, certainly members of their executive staff, coordinators at the system level, but we want to, as much as possible, incentivize and recruit classroom teachers to be at that event that day, as well as new teachers. We also have, we're also trying to work through a process to encourage system leaders to think about inviting some of their newer teachers to their systems to Teacher Leader Summit. We have a day carved out of Teacher Leader Summit, the first day of Summit, that will be new, which will be just for our system leaders. So system leaders will have a VIP invitation to a one-day session that highlights everything that their educators will be learning over the course of the entire summit. So we're really excited about that this year. Right now we have over 3,000, just over 3,000 educators registered for Teacher Leader Summit, and we're capped at 4,000. So registrations are filling fast, and if you know of anyone that you would like to recommend for Teacher Leader Summit, certainly they can notify Dr. Chasson and her team, and we'll do our best to get them registered for Summit. It's sure to be a great event. Finally, just want to thank this board for the help that you have given me in putting forward a set of social studies standards that we were able to unanimously approve as a board yesterday. I think not only are the model standards, not only the standards they model for the country, but I think the process in which we engage and the way in which we were able to get to such a strong vote is also a model for the country. I have shared that I have believed, and I do believe, that the American spirit has always been on one that is on a quest for freedom. Whether it's been initially with the signing of the Declaration of Independence, whether it's been an abolishment of slavery, whether it's been women's suffrage or civil rights. Throughout the history of the nation, it hasn't been without flaw. There's always been a quest for freedom as we continue to become a more perfect union. And so this morning when Levi and Anthony, our youngest learners, were leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance, that was especially emotional for me, given what we went through just yesterday. So just want to thank this board, and you really are putting a set of quality standards out for kids, and I'm really proud of that, so thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. We have our next item, please.
Next item is report from Bessie members regarding legislative task forces and council appointments.
Do we have any Bessie members that would like to report? Mr. Morris.
Members, I have two to report. The Louisiana, the LA-STEM Summit was held January 25th. The highlights for this year's summit include the following. There was an industry breakfast with over 50 individuals attending from industry, government, and education. The overall goal was to showcase the need of industry to engage with LA-STEM. Over 700 individual registrations were in person for this event during the pandemic. 45 presentations in 9 breakout rooms, 48 vendor booths, 5 mobile STEM vehicles, esports breakout room, and robotics breakout room. And just really really encouraged by this group. We've established a regional STEM director now for each region of the state. The word is getting out about this organization, trying to build this network for STEM education in our state. So as each of you, the folks in your region, express an interest in STEM education, just encourage you to reach out to Dr. Coleman and his staff and get more information about how this network is evolving. The second item I can share with you is from the Special School District. The Special School District Board of Directors held their second meeting on February 21st since they were originally established in 2021. The board adopted bylaws. We took a deeper dive with presentations on the academic plans for Louisiana School for the Deaf and Louisiana School for the Visually Impaired. We also received an update on the simulated school performance scores that the LDOE released in November. And I will share with you that the LSD simulated SPS was an improvement of 23 points from 2019.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Morris. Do we have any other reports? Mr. Castillo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I attended a few weeks ago the Hbcu Advisory Committee meeting. That committee is led by the Board of Regents with Commissioner Kim Hunter-Reed at the helm. The HBCU presidents and chancellors that participated had a robust agenda that included a number of items, including presentations from BloomCon in terms of developing pipelines in STEM education and marine life and biology. Also highlighted was a strategic partnership with Folgers and several of the universities. The colleges continue to work with the Board of Regents collaboratively. They continue to work to get more funding from throughout the country, not just here locally in the state, but from the federal government as well, supporting not only those HBCUs in this country, but across the country. That's my report, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Dr. Davis.
Yes. The lead of the Louisiana Education Television Authority met recently, and if you haven't heard already, Beth Courtney is retiring after a long and illustrious career as the CEO of Louisiana Broadcasting, so they will be searching for a new CEO, and so it's certainly my hope that we can locate one who is going to be dedicated to education in the same way that Ms. Courtney was. The Special Education Advisory Panel met, I believe it was last week. We have, the department is submitting new indicators for our goals for special education for IDEA. So that was a lot of work, and they did a good job researching and coming up with rigorous and reasonable goals for our special education children to meet. And also we had a very robust conversation about our need for more special education teachers and trying to figure out ways that we as a state can encourage teachers to get their certification in special education.
Thank you, Dr. Davis. Do we have any other? Ms. Holloway.
Thank you, Mr. Garvey. This request is in regards to judges in the classroom. I move to refer the following agenda item to the next meeting of the Superintendent's Advisory Council. It's a consideration of a presentation regarding the Louisiana Supreme Court Judges in the Classroom program.
Okay, Ms. Davis, do we need to do anything
Just need a
to accomplish
second.
that?
No, Jeff, this motion will suffice. So we
Okay.
just need a second and.
Do we have a second for that, Ms. Ellis? Thank you.
Anyone opposed?
Do we have any oppositions to the motion? Hearing none, the motion carries. Okay, do we have any other reports? Hearing none, let's move to the next item, please.
Next item are your committee reports. Item 7.1, Academic Goals and Instructional Improvement Committee. Mr. Mallory.
On behalf of the Academic Goals and Instructional Improvement Committee, I move to approve motions 1 through 26, noting that motions 21 through 24 and motion 26 are notices of intent.
Can we get a second for that, Ms. Orange Jones? Thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from Bessie members? Hearing none, do we have any?
I just want to
Dr.
vote my opposition to, was it the Learning Pod?
Motion. Was it?
We have that captured by the staff?
Yes.
comments or questions?
Anyone else want to be opposed to that motion in the record? Okay.
Okay. Hearing none, do we have any objections to the motion? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item.
Next item, 7.2, Administration and Finance Committee, Ms. Holloway.
On behalf of the Administration and Finance Committee, I move to approve motions 1 through 33.
Okay, can we get a second? Ms. Ellis, thank you. Before we go to that, do we have any questions or comments from Bessie? Mr. Castillo?
Says I have to recuse.
Oh, okay. Can we get a second from someone else?
Mr. Mallory.
Miller? Okay. Do we comments from?
Yes. I'd like to note for the record that I recuse with respect to motions 18 through 26, grants and allocations.
Okay, Dr. Davis?
I'd like to note that I am recusing myself from motion 20.
Okay. Ms. Ellis?
I'd like to note that I am recusing myself from motion 18, 19, and 26.
Okay. Ms. Bocek?
Vacation from 18, 19, 24, and 26.
Thank you. Anyone else? Any other comments? Okay, hearing none, do we have any objections to the motion? I'm sorry, thank you. Mr. Marcus Thomas.
Yes, we did. Italian and.
Yes, sir. Please state your name, please.
Marcus Thomas, Louisiana Association of Educators. So, speaking on the agenda item that deals with the MFP formula that comes from MFP Task Force, LAE is committed to getting our educators to the Southern Regional average. We feel that both our teachers and support staff deserve a raise because they've all taken on more responsibilities due to shortage of and vacancies in the districts. We need certified teachers in the classroom, and this item would allow the legislature to increase the proposed raises of $750 for supports and $1,500 for teachers should the REC recognize additional monies up in May. So we definitely support that motion. Thank you.
Thank you. Is all of our comments? Okay, we have a motion on the floor. Do we have any objections to that motion? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item.
Next item, 7.3, Educator Effectiveness Committee, Ms. Ellis.
On behalf of the Educator Effectiveness Committee, I move to approve motions 1 through 17, noting that motions 3 through 6 are notices of intent.
Thank you. Can we get a second to that motion, please? Ms. Holloway, thank you. Do we have any questions or comments from board members? Seeing none, do we have any objections to the motion? Hearing none, motion carries. Next item.
Next item, 7.4, School Innovation and Turnaround Committee, Ms. Orange Jones, on behalf of the principals.
On behalf of the School Innovation and Turnaround Committee, I move to approve motion 1 and pull motion 2 as a read.
Okay, can we get a second for that motion? Ms. Holloway, thank you. And we can go to read.
Yes. Behind tab 7.4, page 3 of that, behind that tab, motion 2 at the bottom. There was no further action taken on the material amendment. And we have some public comments.
Okay, we need to get a motion on the floor. We have a new recommendation from the department, I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Garvey. In advance of that, I want to make a comment not directly related to this, but certainly related to the school innovation. Yesterday, whenever I saw Mr. Gary Irwin from Cable in connection with some of the conversation that board members were having around high poverty, high performance schools, I acknowledged the work that Cable had done in recognizing schools previously. And I neglected at that point to also recall that SPAN for children was also a part of that. And I just recalled that last night. And wanted to acknowledge that was a partnership between both Cable and SPAN to recognize high poverty, high performance schools. And so potentially that's something that we can continue to explore, but certainly wanted to acknowledge and recognize both of those organizations for their recognition of high poverty, high performance schools. In terms of the recommendation from yesterday, we heard some really good discussion, heard a lot of talk around precedent being set and recommendations, and looking for a way to help everyone feel more comfortable about moving this forward. Clearly, this is an A school, and so we want the school to continue to be able to serve an increasing enrollment set of numbers, but at the same time, we're also concerned about making sure that they're working to have access to all kids in the community. So our modified recommendation keeps the final bullet, which is around a continuous campus, but it replaces the earlier bullets around shall, having certain numbers to a commitment that I received from like a Charter Foundation, CUSA, around developing a marketing plan and investing in efforts to increase the number of economically disadvantaged students and students with disabilities enrolled in the school. So that's what you see. You should have in front of you a recommendation that indicates that. Also, in private conversation with the groups involved, they affirmed to me some of the commentary that they made yesterday around the dollar investment, and I believe that they're probably willing to make some commitments here this morning as well. So, Mr. Garvey, this is our updated recommendation, and you probably would like to hear from the members of that school community.
Okay, can we get this motion on the floor? Do we have someone that would like to make a motion to move this recommendation forward? Mr. Morris? Second by Ms. Holloway. And we do have speakers. Mr. Lonnie Luce, come down, and then we'll also hear from Mr. Gary Coffin and Dr. Riggs Cook.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And what I wanted to do is first thank the board and the administration for the time that they spent with us on it. We had some very robust conversations yesterday here and several more prior and after that. So I'm really thankful for that. It reminded me of my dissertation was on magnetism of magnets, about school desegregation and school improvement. And the discussions were robust and very good, and I appreciate the challenges that we had on some of those things. I did want to put in context because there were some questions raised from our whole network in Louisiana, and I'd like to kind of go through a little bit of what it looks like racially in our schools where that is kind of understood. If we look at all of the schools in CSUSA that we manage for 5 different boards now in Louisiana, we're well over 55% African American. We're less than 30% white. And if I go into some schools and even show you how radical that is, let's look at SOBA here in Baton Rouge. SOBA in Baton Rouge is let me see what this one is. Let's see, SOBA is 59, almost 60% African American, but it's 35% Hispanic. That is the go-to school in Baton Rouge for first language speakers of Spanish. It's near Gardier, about 3% white, and it's about 60% African American and 35% Hispanic. I could go into each school and read off where that is. In Lake Charles, the vast preponderance of the students in both Southwest and LCCA are African American. If I go to Magnolia, in Shreveport, again, the vast numbers are African American. So I could just go down the list of every one of our schools and lay that out. So I did want to share that, and we are working on, as we were challenged yesterday, diversity in ED, special ed, and race across all of our schools. So we are working through what that looks like. So I appreciate the discussions we had. We are committed. And the board will lay out, I think the board attorney will lay out a robust plan on the marketing plan that we think is good, and we are prepared to do more than that. So we want to act in good faith. We've had multiple conversations with different people, and we will act in good faith to do what we need to do. If it looks like it's helpful, we will act in good faith with the department to do that.
Thank you. Ms. Briggs Cook?
Yes. Good morning, and thank you so very much for sharing your time with us and using your expertise to challenge us to make sure that we are in compliance with your recommendations. As board chairperson, I wanted to make sure that our board represented the ethnicity of both communities. I am the chairperson of Lafayette Renaissance Charter Academy, as well as Acadiana Renaissance Charter Academy. So both schools were built exactly at the same time and for the purposes of serving all students. And we are making sure that all students are welcomed into our schools as into their schools, because in fact those schools are their schools. We are making sure that our parents are welcomed and know exactly what it is that we are trying to do. On our board, to make sure that our ethnicity mimics the communities, we have 4 African American females, we have 1 Hispanic, we have 1 Indian, and 2 white men on the board. As we go through the schools, I try very hard and I advocate that our administrative staff, our teachers, including our other service providers, or within the ethnic standards, that so that our children can see that they are welcome regardless of what walk of life they come from, what educational or socioeconomic status they come from. I'm very passionate about this because I have been in the typical public school, taught administratively for approximately 32 to 40 years if you want to look at my past teaching in the correctional facility. It is very important that all children are taught at their level and brought up to where society expects them to be, regardless of their educational deficiencies, their physical deficiencies, and their socioeconomical deficiencies. This is my goal, that all children, no matter where they come from, will see someone who looks like them, who come from basically the same background as they do, know that they can succeed. And because we use best practices at all levels, our children will succeed. And just please don't take my passion as a means of vanity. I love what I do. I love to see children exceed, and it doesn't matter what it takes. I will be there for them. I will make sure that our board represents their needs, and everything that we do are for the benefit of our children. Thank you.
Dr. Riggs, thank you for your passion and for your volunteer service on this board. We appreciate that. And now, Mr. McGoffin.
Yes, sir, thank you. Also, just with Dr. Cook, she is one of our 2 remaining founding board members starting in 2012. She has been the chairman of our board since inception. This really is a passion project for her. A couple of things that came up yesterday, I've got some specific to address Mr. Morris's question. The original concept, she said we started 2 schools together at the same time back in 2014. They're in the north and south portions of the parish. The original concept was to have a centralized high school. The good news about not building a high school immediately is we realized it was a logistical impossibility to have a centralized high school significantly since 2018. If you take the combined numbers for Acadiana and Lafayette Renaissance, Lafayette Renaissance is over 80% economically disadvantaged. ARCA, different demographic in our parish, it's 48% now. You add them together, divide by 2, and it's 63%. So this board has done a good job of looking at the diversity aspects of things. We were able to perfect a marketing plan last night in conjunction with our partners at CSUSA. I'm going to provide bullet points on that today. We have confirmed the $50,000 commitment to the budget to establish this. There will be expanded radio outreach, both in the urban and Hispanic stations in our market. There will be a significant targeted digital marketing based upon utilization of zip codes to target household income, households only with children, age of adults in the household, and the age of the children in the household, and the zip codes for the economically disadvantaged areas and the surrounding areas, which would be the adjacent parishes. I asked what happens with families who don't have computers, and the response is they all have phones, and that's how we market these days. So we utilize that. In addition, they'll use the digital marketing, which we're talking about, and also targeted community outreach, informational enrollment events within the community, utilizing the school and state team leaders, as well as board members, to conduct events within the community to coordinate, particularly with faith leaders. We find that to be a very effective place to find people who are engaged in this mission. We'll have flyers, brochures, and have computers on site for the events that we have for the community. That way, on site, contemporaneous with the event, parents can submit applications or they can walk through the enrollment process so they can do that at home. They're also going to research the STEM organizations within the community and partner with them in order to reach those families. Some statistics that may be relevant is we talked yesterday about our peer schools in the Lafayette Parish school system, and I brought those numbers with me today. Acadiana Renaissance, as you know, has a 47%, 46.8% ED rate. The three schools immediately adjacent to it in the Youngsville area are Southside High School, which is the newest built school in Lafayette Parish. It's just opened in the last 5 years. Its ED percentage is 37.46%, significantly lower than Acadiana Renaissance. The two middle school and elementary schools that are adjacent to us, Youngsville Middle School and Green Tea Linden Elementary, both are in the 48% range, or 46%. So, in terms of are we actively pursuing the community and being represented in the community in that area, the answer is yes. We're going to step up those efforts. We didn't talk as much about special needs yesterday, but I also like to address that. Within our peer group in Youngsville, Acadiana Renaissance is at 6.4%. Southside High School, again, our newest school, is at 6%. Green Tea Linden Elementary School is at 6.7%. And Youngsville Middle is 8.3%. Our target number is 10%. So as you see, we have made good efforts and are reflective of the community that we serve, but are increasing those efforts with the budget and the market plans we have. I'm open to any questions.
Okay, board members, do we have any questions for any of these speakers? Dr. Davis.
The schools that you just listed, are those traditional neighborhood schools?
They're Lafayette Parish schools.
Yes, so they're traditional neighborhood schools that are bound by local attendance zones, correct?
Correct.
And you're a type 2 charter with a different mission that has no neighborhood attendance zones, is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you.
But it's important to note that the enrollment that we have is a reflection of those students who come to us.
Yes, and you chose the location of your school.
Yes, ma'am.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, Ms. Orange-Jones.
I think this might be, just a curiosity about the lottery. Is your lottery weighted?
Yes, ma'am. Both for SPED and for economic disadvantage.
Okay. And you provide transportation?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other board members? Mr. Castillo.
Really, it's more of a comment. I don't know if Mr. Hague is planning to come to the mic. Mr. Hague, come on up. As he's coming, I had an opportunity to meet with Mr. John Hague. He'll introduce himself. He's the CEO, the owner. He's the big boss with respect to Charter School USA. It's a very good conversation we had last night, and I really wanted him to reaffirm his commitment, which he shared with me, which I greatly appreciated, to the board members as well as to the great state of Louisiana and the parish that you serve, I really appreciate everyone else's comments, but yours carried a lot of weight last night. I'd like you to share that with the
Yes,
rest of us.
I appreciate that, thank you. So thank you for having me, Mr. Chair, Superintendent. We're proud to be a servant of our boards here in Louisiana. We've been on the ground now 11 years. It's been a great journey. We started with the first school at the Lake Charles Academy under Judge Thibodeau, founded by the 100 Blackman organization, which really was the mission that I first started our charter schools in Florida, where we first founded our first school with T. Willard Fair, the founder of the Urban League in Miami, and founded that over time that many of the schools that we've been able to operate on behalf of boards around Louisiana, Florida, and other states that we're in, have done tremendous work to actually help reintegrate markets that oftentimes represent just the zone schools, per the question you had earlier. Because the fact is that charter schools serve all students, and our efforts on behalf of the board and each other is to continually ensure that access is especially focused on those students who do not have access to high-quality options. And to ensure that under the ED rules here in Louisiana, as well as the underlying intent, our commitment is to double down on those efforts, oftentimes beyond what we even can control, obviously. At the end of the day, though, we also know that families choose schools, and in fact, these schools, both the Lafayette North Side and the South Side of Indiana, had tremendous desire to be in these schools. They've been, I think they outstripped even our own expectation of demand. I can tell you, knowing my board chair and my members of our boards, of our 5 different boards, which we serve here in Louisiana, that we've had very strong accountability. They hold us accountable. We are constantly ensuring that we meet their expectations, your expectations, the state law's expectations, and we do it with fidelity. But we're also in a place where, what our efforts do and how we do that have to ensure that they're in context. And I think what Madam Chair here said is exactly right. These schools represent the whole of the parish, and our intent is to continue to grow solutions for markets in that parish. We have conversations, for example, right now in the downtown area of that parish, where business communities are reaching out compared with the some of the underprivileged and underserved communities in those same markets to coalesce and pull those together. So I think we've done an incredible job. My commitment to you as a board is to continue to do that, ensure Charter School USA is accountable to these boards, who are accountable to you and to our state, and to do a great job. Our 25-year history, I think, speaks well. We're an 8-school system across the country. We serve about 80,000 students, and we do that in a way that's got a fidelity to mostly of those students. About 65% of the students we serve across the U.S. are students of either at risk or color that are often those that are least served. But we also ensure that those students have access to other diversity so that they don't also only see folks that come from their background. And that's been an important part of what we've done, is to make sure we crossed into markets that ensure there is diversity because of the way those things work. So we've done that with this board in that market, we've done that in Lake Charles, and in fact, and we talked about this last night, we're also doing the opposite, where we're seeing some of these schools have such a large population of students that represent one demography, that we're reaching out to those other areas to ensure that we get more students of other race and other backgrounds to also be in those schools. And I think we've all experienced that. And I think it's a public education continual struggle and focus that we all are committed to. So the bottom line is, as the CEO and founder of CSUSA, my word is that we'll continue to do that. I'd like to provide continual updates to this board. Superintendent's been outstanding in working with us. I want to say that, and the staff, and trying to work through good ways to continually focus on all students. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Hay.
Thank you, thank you. If you would like to come back and give us an update, I think we would appreciate that.
Love that, I'll do that.
Thanks for mentioning it.
Could you state your name for the record? I'm sorry.
Yes, ma'am. John, J-O-N-H-H-A-G-E.
Thank you. We need you to fill out a card before it's done.
Ms. Hojan.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions and then maybe just a statement. The part of this is going to include continuous monitoring for this recommendation to meet these particular goals, to increase the percentage. from the department?
Yes.
Continuous monitoring these numbers? Because, you know, when I looked over the login, and I think we have maybe a bigger issue than one particular school. The law mandates which shall that these percentages shall be 85% of the average, both for economically disadvantaged and for students with disabilities. The law also mandates the state board to create a process. It says the state board shall develop and administer a process for determining if the charter school is meeting the student enrollment requirements in this paragraph, which is the 85%. The process shall provide for an investigation of the charter school that fails to meet the requirements, to determine the reasons for such failure, and all activities taken by the school toward meeting these requirements. So, in a larger context, not with this particular school as the issue here, because obviously we've looked at this somewhat in depth, but what we used to do, and I think what we really need to have, is a process for monitoring at the state level, and this is based on the October 1 counts. So usually in January of each year, the department would bring to the board, and especially for the Type 2 charters that are under the board's authorization, these percentages as they exist and what those progressions are. Because this is not, as was said yesterday, this is not the only Type 2 charter that doesn't necessarily meet this particular criteria. So it's not that we're trying to shut that down. What we're trying to see is the progression toward meeting this particular criteria, whether it be through an advertising campaign, hopefully, that we're going to monitor and see this increase in the enrollment at this next October 1 count. But could the board or the department come to us, and I'd like to have put on the agenda each January, the Type 2 charters, their status according to this particular law, and if they are not meeting these requirements, what is our process and investigation into it to set up guidelines to get us toward meeting the particular requirements as outlined in our state law. So I'd like that on the, put back on these agendas each March after we do these October 1 counts. Each March? Each January, I'm sorry. After we finalize the October 1 count.
We do currently receive a report. That report looks different than it used to. We received that in January already, so we could, if the board votes to, we could just add this additional information that you requested, the status and the investigation process, because that is not included in that report.
Right, because it is in the revised statute that we have that process in place. So I'd like to see that occur in January.
So we already received the report.
Superintendent O'Shea, I do believe it was provided in January. I'm not certain, but I'm fairly confident we did. But if nothing more, we'll look at the formatting and the presentation and make sure it's pretty clear.
Provided and the process to investigate and to make sure that steps are in place to work toward those goals as required.
Okay, Superintendent, you're agreeable to that request?
Yeah, I think it's probably just a bit of an amending of the process we've already used.
Then I don't think we need a motion on that. Dr. Davis?
I'd like to remind the superintendent that when we received that report last January, I asked that the number of years out of compliance for the schools be included, because right now, all it has is a change from 1 year to the next.
Agreeable? Okay. Any other BESE members? Okay. Dr. Davis?
I would just like to make a comment that I'm grateful for Mr. Morris insisting on an intentional marketing plan for this school to meet their requirements under the law. But I feel like I must say that I am dismayed that we as a board are so reluctant to use the policy levers at our disposal to require this school to meet their legal obligations under the state law. That's all, thank you.
Okay, we have two more comment cards that have come in. Ms. Caroline Romer and Mr. Gordon Ford. Come down, please. Ms. Romer, would you go first?
Good morning, Caroline Romer, Executive Director, Louisiana Association of Public Charter Schools. In full agreement with Superintendent Voce on what the law requires, but just want to emphasize that again, the law does not have a consequence that would prevent a school from continuing to expand its enrollment when it does not meet those numbers, or to be closed or not renewed. But what it does say is, as the authorizer, you are empowered to take a look to understand what policies, what actions a charter school is taking to get to a place that can meet that law. So again, we've talked about it. Ms. Kira Orange-Jones asked the question about a weighted lottery, transportation. Those can all be mechanisms by which you can at least give all children equal access to a seat, and that you are removing barriers, providing lunch, providing breakfast, after school programming. So I agree we should have a process in which we are understanding what are we looking at in the operator's world that they can control, and again, help provide more access. As an association, what we don't agree with is the idea that you can put quotas on choice. We disagree that there should be hard numbers that say a school must look like this, or it means there's something wrong. Instead, it is again, what is the culture in that building? What are the policies they've created? For example, who's in your classrooms? Do you have a diverse teaching corps? DSEG is not just about what the children look like or their economic status, but it's like who's on your board? Who's teaching in the classroom? Have you created a school in which all children feel welcomed? But I remind you, charter schools are schools of choice. So again, what we're looking for is not quotas, but actions that lend to all children having access to that school. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Romer. Mr. Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple of brief comments. I observed the conversation on yesterday and today, and just had a couple of observations. I'm the director of Lincoln Park School in Grambling. We have a type 2 charter school that's about 20 miles away from us. Lincoln Park is about 90% economically disadvantaged. The other charter school is a very small percentage of disadvantaged students. And we have students that leave that school, which is an A school, to come to our school, which is a C school. And the comment we hear most often from those parents is their parents and the children don't feel represented among the faculty and don't feel comfortable there because most of the faculty don't look like them. And they feel that those faculty members are hostile to them. And so I would offer that as a suggestion, and we do take a look at that. The other concern that I have, there was a lot of conversation yesterday about this being an A school, and that's good and it's important. However, having just gone through a renewal and having just gone through a material amendment, all of our performance was looked at. And if we're going to say to charter schools that the only thing that matters is an A, and you can blow off every other part of the law, then I think we may run the risk of encouraging charter schools to cream students so that they can have an A, with the belief that we might ignore other things in the law as long as we have A performance. And so I just would caution you on that and offer those comments to the board. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Sir. Ms. Orange-Jones.
Thank you very much for that. I mean, I would appreciate that be spoken to specifically what the diversity of your staff currently is and what your aspirations are to increase diversity if that is a priority.
Mr. Rouge?
I do not have all of the exact numbers here. I would say that it probably looks more like the community in which it serves. So I'll have to get back with the specifics on what that looks like.
Can you speak to the demographics of the community in which it serves?
Yeah, like for instance, I would say in North Lafayette, the principal happens to be white. The two assistant principals are African American. That population, and I would say the faculty probably looks a lot like, it's probably about, I would say at least 50-50 probably African American, or maybe a little more African American than white. And in the northern part. In the southern part, it looks more like Youngsville, so it probably is predominantly a white faculty. I know one of the assistant principals is African American, but it's a predominantly white faculty at Acadiana.
Okay, do we have any other questions or comments from Bessie members? And we have all the cards taken care of?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Davis? Okay, we have a motion on the floor, I believe it's been seconded. Do we have any objections to that motion? Mrs. Bote? Dr. Davis? Mr. Rock? Okay, we have those noted. Any other objections? Hearing none, the motion passes. Okay, I think we have another item that we have not taken care of, item 1 on this agenda. Ms. Orange Jones, I think we had a motion to accept that, I think we got it seconded, staff, but I don't think we voted on it.
Which one? I don't think it's one.
There's 2 items on this committee.
Oh, yes, correct.
So let's go back to the first item. We have a motion to approve that item by Ms. Jones. I think it might have been Ms. Holloway that seconded that motion.
Yeah, we didn't, the initial school innovation term.
We didn't clear, we didn't,
Yeah, so should I go back and read the
If
initial?
you don't mind.
Sure. On behalf of the School Innovation Turnaround Committee, I move to approve motion 1.
And that was seconded by Ms. Holloway.
That was to change the transfer. Did you say
Landry.
Landry? Yes.
Do we have any questions or comments from Bessie members? Holloway seconded it. Okay, do we have any objections to that motion? Seeing none, the motion carries. Next item.
No, there are no more items on the agenda, Mr. Garvey, but I wanted to recognize that Ms. Nikki Landry, our Bessie staff member,
Yes.
will be moving over to the department as Executive Director of Policy. So I just want to express my appreciation to her for service to the board and assisting the Bessie staff with the work of the board.
Yeah, she is leaving us but not going far.
We'll be seeing her.
Ms. Landry. We are glad to see that you will be just right across the hall and still helping us. So, thank you. Do we have any other items? Hearing none, that concludes our agenda. Thank you.